Welcome to Book by Book, where we take a thoughtful exploration into the most influential literature to deliver you the essential knowledge and the actionable insights. Today, we are immersing ourselves in a book that really aims to redefine what you think is achievable. It's Thibaut Meurisse's 2023 roadmap, Do the Impossible: How to Become Extraordinary and Impact the World at Scale. And, you know the feeling. We all have these big aspirations. We want to be extraordinary. We want to look back on a life that was marked by some kind of significant, meaningful impact. Maybe it's reinventing an industry or, I don't know, solving a major social problem.
Right, or even a creative feat that just changes the cultural conversation. The ambition is there.
Exactly. The ambition is common, but then you look around and truly extraordinary results, they're just incredibly rare. So the question is, why do so many of us talk big, but then act small?
Well, that is the central question Meurisse really tries to answer here. This book isn't about, just getting 10% better. It's more like a declaration of war against mediocrity.
A declaration of war. I like that.
Yeah, he explicitly calls it a hard-nosed roadmap. It's designed to be challenging, not just feel good. He gets right into the core inhibitors that keep people thinking in straight lines.
And what are those?
Well, he points to a few big ones. Debilitating fear, for one. Then there's the suffocating weight of our own limiting beliefs, and a really modern one, aimless busyness.
Well, that one hits home. The feeling of constantly working, but achieving nothing that really matters.
Exactly. So the mission of the book is fundamentally one of transformation. He's inviting us to just stop thinking incrementally. Stop aiming for that small annual improvement.
And instead, adopt the mindset, the belief structure, and I guess the massive action required for truly extraordinary results.
That's it. So our task for this book-by-book summary is to extract that definitive roadmap. We're going to dissect his central formula, analyze the 6 major lessons that underpin his whole philosophy, and explore the practical frameworks he provides.
And most importantly, deliver the immediate actionable steps you can take to start, channeling your energy toward doing the impossible.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start at the foundation, the central thesis.
Right. So Meurisse doesn't believe extraordinary impact is about, luck or some kind of innate genius. He frames it as a very precise formula, a formula where 3 components have to work together.
And not just coexist, right? He says they have to multiply each other's effects.
That's the critical part. This is the core engine of the entire book, and it has to be understood multiplicatively, not additively. If you miss one of these parts, the whole system it collapses. Or at the very least, it stays firmly in the realm of the ordinary.
So what are the 3 components?
Okay, so extraordinary impact, according to Meurisse, arises from the combination of 1, an elevated mindset, which he calls meta-beliefs, 2, strategic leverage, and 3, sustained action.
Mindset, leverage, action. Okay, let's break that down because I think it's crucial to understand why having just 2 out of 3 isn't enough.
Absolutely. Let's start with the elevated mindset or the meta-beliefs. Think of this as your internal operating system. If you believe fundamentally that something is impossible, you're only ever going to commit, maybe 1% of your energy to it, and you'll start at the very first significant challenge. A limiting mindset acts like a governor on an engine.
It restricts the output no matter how much fuel you put in.
Precisely. It doesn't matter how hard you press the accelerator pedal. So that's the mindset piece.
All right, so let's say I have that. I have a powerful mindset, I believe I can do it, and I commit to consistent action. I'm working hard, I'm optimistic. Why isn't that enough? Why do I need that 3rd component, leverage?
That's a great question because that's where most hustle culture, falls short. Without strategic leverage, your impact is capped by your time. It's a direct one-to-one trade.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine you're an extraordinary consultant, brilliant mindset, incredible work ethic. That's your action. But if you only deliver your value through one-on-one meetings with no leverage,
then you can only impact as many people as you have hours in the week.
Exactly. You'll earn a lot, sure, but your impact on the world is limited to the, say, 30 or 40 clients you can see per month. Your results are linear. More time equals more clients. Extraordinary impact at scale requires that you use things like knowledge, technology, and people to reach hundreds, thousands, or even millions, often while you sleep.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Leverage is the mechanism of scale. It breaks the link between your time and your results. But what about that 3rd component, sustained action. I mean, we all know those people. They're brilliant, they're well-resourced, they understand leverage, but they never actually do anything.
The perpetual planners.
Yeah, they're stuck in planning mode forever.
And that is why sustained action is the necessary catalyst. The mindset and the leverage are forms of potential energy. Action is the kinetic output. If you have the best engine, the mindset, and the best tools, the leverage, but you never put the pedal down,
Nothing moves.
nothing moves. And Meurisse really stresses the word sustained. It's not about momentary bursts of enthusiasm. Extraordinary goals face extraordinary resistance, and just, getting excited for a week won't cut it.
So it's the full formula. Mindset determines how big the goal is. Leverage determines how efficiently you can reach it. And action is the daily commitment to actually making the journey.
You've got it. And that's why the framework is so powerful. It's designed to shift you from being a reactive participant, just, dealing with life as it comes to a proactive architect, someone who is meticulously combining these three elements to build something exceptional.
It forces you to stop asking, what should I do next? And start asking a much bigger question.
Yeah, better question. How do I maximize my meta beliefs, leverage, and action all at the same time? That's the shift from incremental growth to remarkable geometric growth.
Okay, this is a great foundation. So let's unpack this blueprint lesson by lesson. If that three-part formula is the destination, these 6 lessons are the map, and we start, naturally, with the internal foundation.
We do. Lesson 1 is adopt the 3 meta beliefs.
This feels like the most fundamental starting point of all.
It absolutely is. Meurisse's argument is that before you do anything external, hire the team, write the business plan, secure funding, you must master your underlying assumptions. These are the beliefs about yourself and the world that, live in your subconscious.
And they dictate your ceiling without you even realizing it.
That's it. And these limiting beliefs are so insidious because they often sound like rational caution.
Right. It's not a voice saying, you're terrible. It's a voice saying, I'm not experienced enough to speak on that topic, or the market is too competitive. Someone else has already solved this. We mistake these internal limits for external reality.
Exactly. And Meurisse points out that these assumptions are far more limiting than any real-world factor. They prevent the attempt itself. If your subconscious whispers, this is impossible, your conscious mind will immediately generate 1,000 rational-sounding reasons not to even start.
So you don't fail because you tried and it didn't work.
Yeah.
You fail because you never truly engaged in the first place.
Precisely. So he offers 3 pillars of meta beliefs that are designed to just shatter that programming.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is everything is possible.
Well, I had to push back on that a little. That sounds a bit like, fluffy optimism.
Mm-hmm.
Almost irresponsible. If I decide I can instantly fly, I'm just going to jump off a roof.
That's a great point, and it addresses the critique of superficiality.
Yeah.
Meurisse grounds this belief by tying it directly to the goal-setting process. Possible here doesn't mean you can defy the laws of physics.
Okay.
It means removing the internal psychological boundaries on your ambition. It means looking at the biggest, scariest goal you can imagine and refusing to dismiss it just because you haven't done it yet.
So if other humans have achieved something similar, or if the technology suggests a solution is on the horizon,
then your meta belief has to be that you can figure out a path. It shifts your ambition from, I'll try if all the conditions are perfect, to a much more powerful stance, I will make this happen.
So it removes the boundaries on ambition, not on physical reality. Got it.
What's the second pillar?
The second is everything is learnable.
This one feels huge. It tackles the knowledge gap, which is where I think most people get stuck.
It's the biggest barrier. Whether the skill you need is, advanced machine learning or complex negotiation or mastering a foreign language, the limiting belief is usually, I don't have the fixed trait for this. I'm not a math person or a people person.
Yeah, I can't code.
Right. Meurisse forces the shift.
Yeah.
Your current skill set is totally irrelevant. All that matters is your commitment to learning. If you adopt learnable, the task transforms. It's no longer a trait deficiency, I can't code. It's a time investment. I haven't learned to code yet.
That reframes the entire effort as an investment, not just a struggle. I like that. And the third pillar.
The third is what guarantees persistence. Every problem is solvable. This is the fuel for grit, isn't it?
Absolutely. An extraordinary project is really just a long series of major problems strung together. When setbacks happen, and they always do, the product launch fails, the funding falls through, the system crashes, most people quit.
But if you hold this meta-belief,
If you truly believe every problem is solvable, those obstacles stop being definitive ends. They become temporary puzzles. They might be really, really hard puzzles, but they're still puzzles. You don't quit, you pivot, you seek expertise, or you design some outside-the-box workaround.
let's use that example from the outline. Someone trying to create say, a unique educational platform in a market that is just saturated with online courses.
Perfect example. The incremental thinker, the person with limiting beliefs, sees the saturation, assumes it's impossible, and quits before they start.
But the extraordinary thinker applies the meta-beliefs.
Right. First, they assume that finding a unique position in that niche is possible. Second, they commit to intensely researching the top competitors, studying their failures and successes. It's all learnable.
And third, when their first 3 marketing campaigns completely fail.
They don't see it as proof that it's impossible. They see it as a solvable puzzle. It's just new information. Maybe means they need to shift their strategy, maybe focus on a hyper-specific sub-niche. They persist not through sheer willpower, but because their internal programming tells them that failure is just data.
That's why he calls them blinders. When you wear those limiting assumptions, your vision is constrained to the immediate fence of doubt. Removing them lets you see the whole horizon.
And crucially, believe that you belong on that horizon. As Meurisse says in the book, your assumptions rule your life. If you want to change your life, you must change your assumptions. This lesson is the absolute non-negotiable prerequisite.
Okay, so once we have that internal belief system locked down, we move to the method for achieving scale. This is lesson 2. Leverage is the force multiplier of impact. This is where it gets really interesting for me, how to achieve massive results without just burning out.
This is the shift from working harder to working smarter. Leverage, to put it simply, is about making your results exceed your input. It's the use of tools, systems, or resources that allow your output to grow exponentially without a corresponding exponential increase in your personal time.
And in the modern world, this is it's mandatory for extraordinary impact, isn't it?
It has to be. If you're trying to solve a global problem, you can't solve it by personally working 100-hour weeks. It's just not possible. You have to design a solution that works whether you're present or not.
The outline mentioned that Meurisse lists 8 specific forms of leverage. I think it's crucial we go through these because most people just think of money when they hear the word leverage.
Absolutely. The 8 forms are like the tools in an extraordinary builder's toolkit. Let's run through them. Number 1 is the obvious one. Money or capital.
Right. Spending money to save time or acquire resources. Buying software that saves your team 100 hours a month.
Exactly. Number 2 is technology. Using digital tools, automation, AI to replicate your knowledge and effort infinitely at near zero marginal cost.
Like creating an online course or writing a complex data analysis script that can be run 1,000,000 times.
Perfect. Number 3 is knowledge. This is leveraging your accumulated expertise, your systems, your documented processes. Once you solve a problem and document that solution, you never have to solve it from scratch again.
That's a subtle but powerful one. Number 4.
Other people, your team, your network, delegating tasks, collaborating, accessing the specialized skills, and, importantly, the time of others. This is what breaks the ceiling of your own 24-hour day.
Okay, that's 4. What's next?
Number 5 is media or distribution. Using platforms and channels, social media, publishing, PR, to reach a massive audience without having to physically travel or interact with every single person individually.
And number 6 is focus or singularity.
Yeah, this is an internal leverage. It's channeling your finite mental energy into only the most high-impact activities. It ensures that every hour you spend working is 10 times more valuable than an hour spent by a distracted person.
So my 1 focused hour is leveraged against someone else's 10 distracted hours.
You got it. Number 7 is time. Leveraging time means making long-term investments that pay compound interest later, like spending a year building proprietary software that will generate revenue for decades.
A short-term sacrifice for a long-term exponential payoff. And the last one, number 8.
Identity or reputation. This is leveraging your credibility and authority. When people trust you, they listen instantly. A single recommendation from a highly reputable person carries exponentially more weight than 100 cold emails from an unknown source.
Wow, that list really makes the concept so much more tangible. It's not just one thing, it's a whole system of tools.
It is. And if we go back to that content creator example, a successful one is probably using at least 3 of those simultaneously. Technology for automation, knowledge for systemized formats, and other people for outsourcing editing.
And that's why it's a force multiplier. If they just work harder, more action, they might publish 3 posts a week. linear growth. But if they apply leverage,
They might publish one extraordinary, systemized, widely distributed post that creates 10 times the results, all because they use technology and people to amplify their initial intellectual effort.
the classic analogy of the physical lever, using a simple tool to move a massive rock. But it sounds like for an impossible goal, you need multiple levers working in concert.
You do, and why this matters is maybe the most critical takeaway from the whole book. Working only by working harder is a recipe for burnout and linear failure. You cannot achieve scale if you are the bottleneck.
As he says, you must use all the forms of leverage available to channel as much energy as you can toward your vision.
Neglecting leverage is actively deciding to remain small.
Okay, moving on to lesson 3. We shift back inward. We've got the beliefs, we've got the tools for scale. But Meurisse insists that before you can sustain external impact, you have to establish internal discipline. Lesson 3 is, master your subjective reality before changing the world.
This is a really challenging lesson because it pushes back against our natural desire to, blame external circumstances.
Yeah, we love to focus on the market, the competition, the economy, all the things that are largely outside our control.
Exactly. The master of subjective reality recognizes that while the external world objective reality definitely exists, the internal lens through which we interpret and respond to it, our subjective reality, that is entirely controllable.
So the priority has to be mastering that inner world.
Yeah.
Your focus, your energy levels, your resilience, your identity.
Because if your beliefs are fragile or your focus is all over the place, no amount of external success will feel satisfying, and it certainly won't be sustainable.
So if the market shifts because of some unforeseen event, the master of subjective reality doesn't waste energy panicking or wishing things were different.
Right. They immediately focus on what they can control. Their response, their belief in their ability to pivot, and the quality of their next strategic action. That control is the source of all proactivity and adaptability.
When you master that inner space, external turbulence doesn't rattle your foundation.
You maintain control over your habits, your interpretation of failure, and your daily effort. You basically transform the uncontrollable exterior into a challenge that your resilient interior is ready to meet.
Let's apply this to a really tough situation. Say you're launching a new software product. You've planned everything, but the day before launch, a massive, well-funded competitor announces an identical product.
Oh, that's a nightmare scenario. The incremental thinker stops. They panic. They spend a month obsessing over the competitor's funding and market share.
But the master of subjective reality
Immediately controls their mindset. They confirm their belief that this problem is solvable. They shift focus away from the competitor's product, which is uncontrollable, to maximizing their own system.
things they can control.
Exactly. Refining their marketing message, accelerating their feature roadmap, focusing intensely on a segment the competitor might have neglected. They launch anyway because they're driven by their internal conviction, not by external circumstances.
That transition he talks about, from being a waiter to an actor, that's the key identity shift, isn't it?
It is. Waiting for perfect external conditions is just a form of procrastination. Acting based on internal mastery is what creates those conditions. And this foundation is so vital. If your inner house is a mess, any external challenge, no matter how small, can knock it over.
As he puts it, to change the world, you first must change the one person you can control yourself. The inner work provides the sustainable energy for the outer impact.
Perfectly said.
So we've mastered the internal state. How do we make sure our daily effort actually contributes to the big, extraordinary goal? This brings us to lesson 4, laser focus and compound effects.
Right. And focus is the hidden leverage that compounds every other form of effort. Meurisse he's ruthless on this point. Deep focus on one thing is exponentially superior to shallow focus on many things. He calls the latter the diffusion of energy.
A state where momentum is impossible because you're spread too thin.
It's just basic physics, really. If you have 100 units of energy and you spread 10 units across 10 different projects, each one just inches forward. But if you direct all 100 units into one project, it gets the escape velocity it needs to break through that initial resistance.
And this is where the compound effect kicks in. The idea that small, consistent actions, when they're focused, lead to nonlinear results over time.
Yeah, it's the difference between investing $100 annually in 10 different low-return ideas versus $1,000 annually into one high-return venture. The initial results of focused effort might look tiny, a 1% improvement today.
But that 1% applied to the same thing day after day.
It doesn't just add up, it multiplies. After a year, the results are significant. After 5 years, they're seismic. You generate a competitive gap that those incremental, diffused workers can just never close.
Let's use the example of someone trying to develop specialized AI expertise.
Hmm.
If they spend 2 hours a day dabbling in 5 different areas of tech blockchain, VR, basic coding, social media, and AI, their progress in AI is going to be glacial.
Of course. But if they commit those same 10 hours a week solely to mastering one niche within AI, say generative modeling, that singular focus lets them tackle deeply complex problems, build real projects, and compound their knowledge so much faster.
And then credibility grows. Opportunities find them. Their expertise just deepens exponentially.
And the five dabblers combined will never achieve the authority of that single focus expert. It brings back that analogy of the magnifying glass. Scattered sunlight is harmless, but when you channel it into a single beam, it creates a burning, momentum-generating force.
So the why it matters here is simple. Extraordinary goals demand extraordinary momentum, and you can't build momentum if your energy is scattered everywhere.
Exactly. Focus is the engine, and consistency is the fuel for that compounding effect. As Meurisse says, focus is the compound interest of results. If you want exponential results, you need to invest exponentially, and focus is that initial investment.
Okay, lesson 5. This feels like a direct response to the culture of, chasing the next new hack or trick.
Yeah.
Meurisse pushes us away from tactics and into the more enduring framework of strategy. Lesson 5. Accurate thinking and strategy over random tactics.
It is. He recognizes that we are under constant pressure to implement the newest social media hack or the latest productivity tool. These are tactics.
And tactics are easy to copy, they offer a temporary boost, but they rarely create lasting, extraordinary results.
Right. Meurisse argues that this constant tactical chase is often just another form of that aimless busyness we talked about. It's masking a lack of genuine, penetrating thought.
Which brings us to accurate thinking.
Yes, and this requires a radical commitment to reality. You have to be willing to acknowledge uncomfortable truths, understand your own biases, and reject wishful thinking. Accurate thinking is the ability to diagnose reality correctly.
So, to identify where your true leverage lies, where the market is actually moving, and maybe most importantly, why your previous attempts failed.
Exactly, and it sounds incredibly difficult because it asks us to constantly challenge our own optimistic narratives.
So how does he suggest we get more accurate? It's easy to say, but hard to do.
He doesn't just say think accurately. He provides structural tools. This is where he brings in that framework of the 8 truths of human nature. These truths are essentially common psychological drivers and biases.
Like what?
Things like humans favoring immediate reward over long-term gain, or our inherent resistance to change, or the tendency to rationalize previous poor decisions, the sunk cost fallacy.
Ah, I see. So by internalizing those truths, you have a more objective lens to evaluate your own strategy through.
You do. You start to realize, for example, that your team isn't resisting the new system because it's a bad system, but because humans just inherently resist change. This insight prevents you from making an emotional, tactical mistake and allows you to design a strategy that works with human nature, not against it.
So accurate thinking is the input, and strategy is the output. Strategy is the why and the how, the enduring plan.
Exactly. The strategy is the long-term blueprint, aligned with reality and optimized for leverage. The tactics are just the individual steps you take within that framework. The goal isn't to be perfectly right all the time. It's to be less wrong than everyone else and to have a reliable way to self-correct.
Let's use the business example. A small company is struggling with client retention. The tactical approach is to offer a 10% discount to anyone who complains this month.
A quick fix. But the accurate thinker steps back. They analyze why clients are leaving. If the truth is that the product is fantastic, but the customer service wait time is 45 minutes, then the strategy shifts.
You leverage technology lesson 2 to overhaul the service system. And only then do you implement specific, tailored retention tactics.
The analogy holds true. Strategy is the map, the route planned based on geographical reality. Tactics are the individual turns you make. Driving fast without a map only gets you lost faster.
Okay, this brings us to the final lesson, lesson 6. We've focused so much on the individual mindset, focus, personal leverage. But this lesson recognizes the unavoidable ceiling of just trying to do it all yourself. Growth of self, others, and systems.
This is the big shift from being the expert operator to being the architect. Meurisse is very clear that your 24 hours and your finite energy level will always cap your potential impact if you remain the single point of failure and creation.
So to achieve real scale, you have to build capacity in 3 areas at once.
Yes. First, personal growth. This ensures that you don't become the bottleneck. As your project or venture scales, the skills you need change. You move from doing the work to leading the team, managing the systems, and engaging in that high-level, accurate thinking. You have to actively invest in your leadership and strategic capacity.
Okay, that makes sense. Then we have the capacity of others. This is more than just delegation, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, much more. It's the others, leverage from lesson 2, put into sustained practice. It's about cultivating a robust team and, crucially, investing in their growth so they can execute parts of the vision independently and effectively. This requires documented processes and decentralized authority.
So the team structure can handle an increasing load without constantly relying on you for every single decision.
Right. And finally, the third part, the growth of systems. This is the leap from personal effort to an institutional structure.
The documented processes, the automated workflows, the repeatable structures that sustain the effort.
That's it. A system is basically knowledge leverage put into operational practice. If the process is documented, trained, and automated, the impact continues, even when you're on vacation or focused on the next impossible goal.
The analogy you used earlier really works here, moving from planting a single seed every day, which is just linear hustle, to building a fully automated, self-sustaining orchard.
That's the vision. A single tree hits a seasonal limit. But the orchard, running on optimized processes, systems, with trained staff, others, and guided by a visionary owner who is also growing self-growth, that orchard produces fruit year after year, scaling far beyond what one person's labor could ever achieve.
It's the ultimate mechanism for enduring change.
It's how you transcend your individual limits and create a legacy.
Okay, so to make these 6 lessons really actionable, Meurisse weaves in several core concepts that kind of guide the whole implementation. Let's touch on those foundational frameworks.
Right. We've talked about the main scaffolding, the 3 meta-beliefs, the 8 types of leverage, the 8 truths of human nature. But there are 2 overarching concepts that really dictate how you allocate your resources day to day, and those are energy and scale.
Let's start with energy as the currency of impact. This goes way beyond standard self-care advice, doesn't it?
It does. Meurisse views your energy, mental, physical, emotional, as the absolute limiting factor for any extraordinary project. It is the currency you spend on every single task. Deep work costs a lot, but has a high return. Aimless busyness costs little, but has 0 return.
And if you let your energy stores get depleted,
the quality of everything else just collapses. Your focus, your accurate thinking, your ability to sustain action, it all falls apart. So pursuing an impossible goal requires a profound commitment to managing your energy.
So we're talking about prioritizing sleep, physical activity, nutrition, and crucially protected recovery time.
Yes, you have to consciously work on accumulating and channeling high-quality energy because the kind of deep strategic thought Meurisse demands requires maximum cognitive bandwidth. If you're chronically depleted, you'll just revert to incremental thinking and tactical fixes because your brain literally lacks the reserves for anything else.
This loops back so powerfully to lesson 3, the subjective reality concept. If my inner world is low energy and anxious, my external output is always going to be subpar no matter how smart I am.
Precisely. The subjective reality concept is a reminder that the state of your inner world dictates your external outcomes. If you let self-doubt, fear, or mental clutter consume your subjective reality, you have fundamentally diminished your capacity for action. Mastering that internal state isn't a luxury. It's operational discipline.
It's about designing a subjective reality that's characterized by high energy, deep focus, and those unwavering meta-beliefs.
You've got it. And that brings us to the practical application of all this, which he calls scale via leverage. This is about how this whole mindset translates into your daily process design.
So how does that work?
It's about ruthless process optimization. It means you are constantly evaluating every task you do and asking a simple question. Is this activity linear or is it exponential?
And if it's linear, like answering every customer service email personally.
The goal is to eliminate, delegate, or automate it immediately. The focus must always be on designing processes that result in exponential growth, moving away from that one-for-one input-output trap.
So that might mean spending an entire month building a robust, documented system for lead generation, even if it feels slow at first.
Exactly. Because that system will then operate and scale indefinitely, leveraging technology and knowledge, and ultimately yielding 100 times the result of 1 month of just making cold calls. It's the willingness to sacrifice immediate, linear returns for massive, sustained exponential impact.
Okay, this is where we transition from the theory to immediate application. For everyone listening who wants to implement this roadmap, you've pulled together a 10-point plan for the next month based on the book. Let's get into these.
Yeah, these steps are designed to immediately activate those 3 core elements: mindset, leverage, and action. They require honesty and commitment for sure.
Right, number 1, commit to the impossible goal. And this can't be a small one. The instruction is to write down one goal that is significantly beyond your current comfort zone.
The mechanism here is simple but powerful. A truly impossible feeling goal immediately forces you to adopt the meta beliefs. If a goal is only slightly challenging, you can approach it with your old linear thinking.
But if it's truly extraordinary,
You're forced to ask better questions. How do I access massive leverage? How do I ensure my belief is absolute? It triggers the entire system. That's why it has to feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little ridiculous at first.
okay, step 2, shift your meta beliefs. This is about actively identifying those self-imposed limitations. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't afford that, or I'm not good at presenting, you have to stop.
And not just stop, you have to write down that limiting belief and then write a specific, actionable counterstatement framed in that possible, learnable, solvable language we talked about. This is active, conscious reprogramming of your subjective reality.
This sounds like it requires a lot of consistency.
It does. You're fighting decades of ingrained negative thought patterns. You have to treat it like a mental exercise, systematically replacing faulty lines of code in your internal operating system.
Step 3, inventory your leverage. Take that list of the 8 forms of leverage: money, tech, people, knowledge, and so on, and conduct a ruthless audit of your life. Then, identify 2 or 3 specific ways you can immediately increase your leverage.
This is a pure strategic exercise. For instance, if you realize you're strong on knowledge leverage but weak on technology, your actionable item might be to invest 3 weekends in mastering one automation software tool.
Or if you're weak on other people leverage, you might find one skilled freelancer to delegate some tasks to.
Exactly, even if that costs a bit of money leverage up front. The goal is to start moving your effort away from linear manual labor.
Number 4, schedule sacred focus blocks. Implement daily or near daily 60-minute blocks dedicated solely to your single highest leverage project. And, crucially, protect that time fiercely.
The word sacred is key here. It implies 0 interruption, no email, no notifications, no meetings. This step directly engages lesson 4 on focus. This is where the compounding actually happens. If you let those blocks get diffused, you undermine everything else.
The difficulty is resisting that urge to immediately respond to every ping and notification.
You are literally practicing mastery over your attention span, which is a rare form of modern discipline.
Number 5, audit your thinking. This brings in lesson 5 on accurate thinking. Become a detective of your own mind. Identify 3 common cognitive biases you fall into. Maybe it's the sunk cost fallacy, where you stick with a failing project just because you've already invested so much.
Right. And you have to actively catch yourself using these biases this week. It requires that brutal honesty that's a core part of Meurisse's philosophy. Once you identify the bias in action, you have to force yourself to apply objective reality and pivot, even if it feels emotionally difficult.
Okay, number 6, build a growth habit. Choose one high-value habit that's directly related to your impossible daily writing, complex skill practice, networking, and commit to repeating it consistently for 30 days.
This is all about building momentum and triggering the compound effect. The value isn't just in the skill you acquire, but in the psychological win of 30 days of unbroken consistency.
Number 7, delegate or automate. Identify one task this week that is low leverage but consumes a lot of your energy, something necessary but non-scaling, like scheduling or minor data entry, and then either automate it or delegate it.
This step is about freeing up your energy currency and your focus. You're reclaiming your most valuable asset, your focused time, from tasks that don't require your specific genius. If you can automate a 30-minute daily task, you've just freed up 15 hours of highly leveraged time over a month.
Huge. Okay, number 8, create an ally network. Extraordinary impact isn't a solo sport. systematically build a network of collaborators, mentors, and peers.
Yes, people who can provide energy, feedback, and external expertise. This is the immediate implementation of the growth of others component from Lesson 6. The actionable step isn't just go to a networking event, it's more specific. Identify 3 high-quality people whose expertise you need and find a way to offer them value in exchange for their perspective.
Number 9, invest in core energy. Review your daily schedule and get intense about essential self-care. Adequate sleep, he is firm on 7 to 9 hours. Consistent exercise and dedicated time for recovery.
This is foundational. If you truly believe energy is the currency of impact, you have to protect your bank account. The difficulty is cultural. We often glorify hustle and sleep deprivation. Meurisse argues that sustainable, extraordinary impact is impossible without optimal physical and mental infrastructure.
And finally, number 10, implement a quarterly review. Schedule a structured time, maybe every 90 days, to systematically review your progress using the lens of this book.
This review forces accurate thinking onto a macro scale. It prevents complacency. It makes sure your tactics haven't drifted away from your core strategy. If your review shows you're still trading time for money linearly, you know your system's documentation needs work. It closes the loop and ensures you stay aligned with that exponential goal.
Yeah, that's a powerful and very practical list. Let's try to recap everything and boil it down to the final thoughts.
Sure, if you distill all the lessons from Do the Impossible, the entire roadmap really boils down to 5 essential shifts. These are the principles that separate that incremental progress from true exponential impact.
All right, what's the first one?
First, mindset. You have to stop thinking small. Believe the impossible is possible, learnable, and solvable. That elevated meta-belief is the internal switch that unlocks everything else.
Second, efficiency. Leverage is the engine of scale. You have to systematically use technology, other people, knowledge, and capital to multiply your effort. If you don't use leverage, you're actively choosing to stay small and linear.
Third, control. Master your inner world first. Your subjective reality, your beliefs, your focus is the only thing you fully control. Cultivating that resilience ensures that outer change follows your internal discipline.
Fourth, consistency. You have to reject that scattered, diffused effort. Focus deeply on one high-leverage project. Protect that focus with everything you have, and let the compound effect generate that exponential momentum for you.
And fifth, scale. You have to move beyond your personal capacity, build robust systems, and cultivate the capacity of others. That's what allows your impact to endure and multiply far beyond the limits of your own individual hustle.
So this book, Do the Impossible by Thibaut Meurisse, it's really much more than just a motivational read. It's a rigorous, actionable invitation to stop being a passive spectator in your own journey.
And to commit to becoming the architect of massive change. It demands honesty, commitment, and most importantly, strategic grit.
By applying these concepts, by deliberately elevating your beliefs, amplifying your leverage, mastering your inner state, and focusing on scale, you fundamentally shift your identity.
You move from being someone who just dreams about changing the world to someone who is actively, systematically, and exponentially building that change. The world doesn't need another spectator. It needs builders, believers, and doers operating at scale. That's the core message he leaves you with.
It's a powerful message. We encourage you to take these 10 actionable items and apply them immediately. Start by identifying that one impossible goal you've been afraid to even name, and then schedule your first sacred focus block to start tackling it. If you found this summary helpful in clarifying the key lessons and actionable strategies from Do the Impossible, please remember to subscribe to our channel, Book by Book, for more such helpful book summaries. Sharing this episode with friends and hitting that like button really motivates us to keep bringing you the best book summaries possible. Thank you for joining us.